course, having the mouse stick to the music system does really make things interesting when you're trying to start talking. So, welcome to our next session of our Wrath of the Immortals campaign set in Mystara. We are session 116 for this group, and that is also Phase 3, Season 2, Episode 9. So when I say Phase 3, that's a major story arc where certain things happen. In Phase 1, it was an introduction to the setting. Phase 2 was joining Redrian's investigation service, which each of your characters will have tied to your backstory at some point. And Phase 3 is known as the Great War, where the Master of the Desert Nomads has invaded the nation of Darachan, where your sponsor is based, and that has led to the possibility of all elves on the world getting annihilated in a moment if he reaches the elven relics. Just one of those interesting points of playing elves. And so far he is within about 30 miles of the elven forest to maybe 50 miles depending on where he's actually located at the moment. So it is unsure if he'll achieve that as part of the story. And as we actually have 4 elves currently in the party, it is quite a noticeable thing if it happens. Joining us today, we have our ongoing characters of Jeremy, if he's there. He may have stepped away, so I'll move on to Martin.
Yes, I'm here. I'm playing a wood elf monk, part of the Kenzai, level 12, and I don't talk much just because I've got charisma 8. Yeah, that'll do.
Yes. And in a former life, he was a halfling.
That's right.
Of course, the former life is the actual storyline, so that's also part of the interesting backstory to learn about later. We have 4 new people joining us tonight. We shall start off with Rhiannon.
Hi. I'm playing a Genasi Ranger Cleric, and I think at this point that's all I'm going to give you.
That's all good. You'll get a better introduction soon. Next up, we have returning Sean.
I'm playing Ganrick, the Elven Druid. He may or may not be an arsonist. We will probably find out about that at some later time.
Hey, I'm sure hot stuff gets mentioned every now and then. Next up, we have Elliot. Hello, Elliot. That's right. He was dealing with other things at the time. He'll get back to us when he can. Always forgetting sometimes when people step away when I have a list of names to remember to call out. Okay, so as for the story, what they're currently doing, they have been tasked with helping gather allies for the war against the Master by their sponsor, Redrian. Redrian being a merchant prince of Darachan, also become their spy master, and has got outposts all over the region known as the Gnome World. The Gnome World being a original part of Mystara, which has various nations, with the outlined one here being where the characters currently are, known as Karamikos. Now, Darachan is based around this lake and surrounds this bordered forest in the middle. That is where the characters are based, with their home being in the capital called also Darachan. But should have actually been listed as Darrington City, but they like to use the same names in multiple places. Inside the nation is the Kingdom of Alfheim, so that is where the Master is currently trying to reach, and the Master has taken the city on this side of the lake. He has come from the western edge of the border and spent 2 seasons of the story getting to that point. The Master has introduced gunpowder and firearms to the setting where it didn't previously have it. So some of the characters feel a little underarmed and armoured when facing his soldiers. To the south area you have what's called the Five Shires, which is where you'll find a majority of the halflings. And while people are used to elves and dwarves disliking each other, the halflings hate dwarves far more than the elves ever could, and they'll explain it to you in depth if you ever ask them. You have a Arabian Nights style area called Yularum, and that one is very male centric and very much laughed at by many of the other nations for that lack of foresight. Above them is the Northern Reaches, which is the Viking lands, and they're probably ones who laugh the hardest at the male-centric nation beneath them, because everyone in the Northern Reaches is literally able to wield a sword and fight. There's no restrictions based on them, though if you announce that you're a follower of Loki, you might not last very long. Bordering those 2 nations is the Kingdom of Rockholm, which is the Dwarven nation. In the very centre of the Dwarven nation, they have their sacred mountain, and the dwarves will swear blind if the gnomes don't have a city above them, because they still believe gnomes don't exist. Partly because the gnomes are technically the only species that can have offspring with another species natively, because they are descendant of the dwarves. So you won't get any humans and elves having kids unless it's a curse or a magical crossbreed. So that's why there are no half races in there. And if anyone identifies a half race, most of them are considered evil and will be attacked on sight by a majority of the population due to history. Above them is the Ethingarian Khanates, so think Mongol horde led by a great Khan. Most of Friday is based out of that region. Down in the corner here is called the Atruaghin Clans, so they were originally based around American natives, but instead of just being that, it's now a group of people who worship totems, where animalistic versions of those totems actually walk among the tribes. So they are a warmongering people who use war and combat as a way of settling any sort of dispute. So they are much feared by the rest of them. To the south is an area called the Kingdom of Irendi. The simplest way to describe that is Mystara's version of Australia. That's where a lot of convicts were sent until they kicked out their oppressors. Below Karamikos directly is called the Minmarothad Guilds. That is where you will see the merchant seamen, is where they are mostly based. So they will happily fleece you for all you've got. And in the bottom corner is the Empire of Thyatis. It's the only part of it still in the region, but they had once colonized most of the known world that you see on the map. They are currently at war with the Empire of Alphatia, and if they weren't, this entire region would be dead by now. Alphatia has declared war on the nation I haven't mentioned yet, up in the top corner, called Galantry, and they want to wipe out that nation plus every nation who knows of them. So a literal genocide in process. There is a small area in the north of Darken known as the Broken Lands, which is where you will find all the humanoid outcasts such as orcs, goblins, trolls, kobolds, gnolls. That's where they have set up shop because no one else wants to live there. And that's roughly the area that you can see in the background. So with that, the Atruaghin Clans have started getting their people together for the first time in history. They normally fight each other, but they haven't done so for over a year. So there's a lot of talk amongst people that they may come and help Darken get rid of the Master, or they may just come and take over the region themselves. The Horse Lords have also gathered in numbers, but they are currently fighting a group of people to the north who call themselves the Haldanic Knights. They are warmongering Norse knights following a single goddess who they believe to be the persona of battle. The dwarves are currently fighting a bunch of fire giants who are causing devastation amongst their nation. The elves are fighting on many fronts. They have started retreating from their homeland because they know that if the Master reaches the sacred relic that they call the Tree of Life, then every elf in the world will die and the Master becomes a god. So no pressure for anyone for that to happen. So they are currently moving their relics as quickly as they can, and having spent 4 years in the process of doing so, may get to it shortly. But time to an elf is very much different compared to time to other people, so while they think they're rushing, everyone else would have expected them to be done by now. If you wander into the Theatin region, you will be enlisted in the army, because everyone in that nation has been brought into the war effort because the war is going badly. The Alphatians would have won, except a group of people burnt down their Skyfleet, which both Jeremy and Martin's characters were behind. So they have helped you survive longer. Dragonborn only got noticed in the setting 12 years ago, and you have one of the eldest Dragonborn amongst you, known as Drezel. He will talk to you occasionally, he will not explain things, and he will be helpful occasionally. But he's definitely writing down what you're doing for a reason he won't explain. But the rest of the party has been used to him doing that, and he does occasionally prove to be helpful. Just try not to feed his horse. And in the current storyline, they have travelled to Karamikos to barter a peace between Karamikos and Alphatia to keep Karamikos out of the war between those two empires. Karamikos was considered the Grand Duchy of Thyatis, but due to the peace treaty, they're going to call themselves a kingdom and succeed from the parent nation. You have the two characters of Martin and Jeremy were responsible for getting that treaty signed, and they're currently getting ready for coronation. Moving over to where we are at the moment. The current region they're in is called Lune, which is run by Mistress Sashia, who's now Lady Sashia, as she's taken on a lordship of the town. She is currently dealing with issues from what's known as the Black Eagle Barony and Fort Doom, and the dreaded wizard known as Spargle, who very few people in Karamikos can say without speeding in disgust. To the east of the town is a place called Krozegi Keep, which is home to an ancient vampire lord. So travel there with care, but a majority of the elves...
He's related to Dimitri as well.
He's also related to all the humans of the region. when you go back far enough, everyone seems to be related. And most of the elves in Karamikos come from the Radleb Woods, part of the Kalari offshoot. So they refer to that as the Kingdom of Kalari, even though it's only one clan, with a few others potentially joining them from Alfheim, as the Alfheim is looking to collapse in the near future. There is two other well-known kingdoms of elves. There is the Kingdom of Wendar, that is currently under siege by undead and vampires. There is the Sylvan Lands, which is far to the west, and that's currently under siege by multiple humanoid hordes. And the reason all of these places are under siege is they have alder trees that can't be moved. So if the trees die, the clan dies. So they are a bit wary of what's happening in some other places. So Martin, have I left out anything of importance yet?
No, that's fine.
So they have journeyed through Radleb Woods, dealing with the home of the vampire in Krosegi Keep without actually meeting the vampire, which I believe the characters were thankful for. And arriving.
And we've got a full party, so let's do it.
Yes, I'm sure the monk would love to take on a epic level character. Yes, so I do have to remind Martin every now and then that the adventures are not scaled. So if you go up against an ancient red dragon, it will be an ancient red dragon. Ooh. So if the party chooses to do so, they're more than welcome to go out in a blaze of glory. And they learnt that the vampire in charge of that location is a Fey Lord vampire.
I'm fairly sure Harold would like to survive for more than one session.
So a Fey Lord vampire is a creature that cannot be killed without special circumstances. So those circumstances...
What are the special circumstances?
That is unique to each of the Fey Lords. So what works on one won't work on another. And each Fey Lord vampire has a strain of vampirism unique to them.
Okay.
So the general vampires that most people know of are related to this one vampire from this region.
Okay.
But if you kill him, you kill his entire strain.
Well, if the Fey Lord vampire has procreated, is that a lesser form of Fey Lord vampire?
Well, he became a Fey Lord after he became a vampire. As part of that process of becoming a vampire, he gained the Fey Lord, and his descendants we predated him being a vampire. And just the fact that he uses the name Dracula is creepy enough for some other players.
Okay.
So, having people back, we in the town. The group of elves and the Janazi have wandered in, or already there as part of the celebrations. You may know Lady Sashia, who is a hero of the region. There are not many strong leaders who can stand up to a evil wizard and continue living. And as such, you were all introduced to each other by Lady Sashia as part of a relaxing night around a bonfire, because she's not really one for statesmanship. and her lordly raiments are literally what you would look at as soldier's garb. So she dresses for combat at most times. You hear the tale of the Ashen King who was spreading a plague in the area until just recently, when a group of adventurers had convinced him to move on to somewhere else. They're not quite sure where, because he has used the astral sea to get out of this area. He could show up literally anywhere. So, Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening all. I'm playing Demetrius, the Soldaten, well, I was a peasant boy, and the has managed to develop a bit in those humble beginnings, but obviously maintain his humility despite the fact that he's had to save the world a couple of times, rescue the gods, do the odd thing here and there, become an emperor, educate, all sorts of random little bits and pieces, but yeah, still perfectly humble and willing to provide his advice and provide details of everything that people need to know at any time they need to know.
Okay, so Jeremy, how does Dimitri look?
No, he is not humble. But continue.
So what do they see when they look at him?
Well, Dimitri's relatively short, like that, fairly normal size for dog are, and over 5 feet tall, and so got fairly pale with a slightly bronze sheen to his skin. His hair is a deep fiery red hair now, although often you don't see it too much because he's just wearing a hood and part of his robes and things. When he has got the hood on and the head all there beaten inside, but if those who get to know him well might eventually realise that actually he actually wears an extra wig that hides deep scars on the left side of his face, and where the scalp was effectively burned away and it's not regrowing properly. So, with the wig, he's often actually, the hair actually often appears to be a fairly like gold length black hair type stuff. Whereas necessarily want to advertise exactly how much affinity he has for fire amongst his potential enemies. Not obviously anybody who could possibly hate the liquid, he makes it more fun.
And no, there's not a line out the door waiting to introduce him to his next life. Okay,
so really good for the party, Dimitri, and for the longer term party members, is the fact that he is actually almost as good as he thinks he is.
He has survived a lot, so he's currently the longest serving character in the storyline, having done a 30 odd sessions before the storyline began.
Yes. He's been around, so he'll help the newbies along and explain what really goes on and how it works.
Okay, so Jeremy, Dimitri's been given notification that these new 4 members have been recruited by Redrian, and he's been instructed to show them the ropes.
Well, okay, but obviously Dimitri can understand exactly why Redrian would entrust them into his care to look after them and teach them what they need to know. So, Dimitri's here to help them make it look good, obviously.
Okay, so first up you have Hildrun. So how does Hildrun appear when people see her?
So we're having a party around a bonfire. Is it there like trees and stuff around, or?
Not a lot of trees around here. You're inside a city wall, a walled city that has burning plague bodies outside.
Okay, cool.
And
we got
there's
back to Lyle, did we?
you're still in Lull.
Right, we got back to Lyle, and I have to have a quick look at the out at the marshland just to ensure that the Action King hadn't gone that way. And then, yeah, because we left the night session on the fact that there was I mentioned that one of the other party members was feeling a bit fatigued and wounded and things, but that, like I said, we were going to get back to Lyle and rest anyway, so there was no point in actually really stopping and getting up to the mark.
Yep, and so that you're currently having stale rations and flat beer because currently spring hasn't happened and it's now about 2 months behind the growing season.
Okay, so what you'd all see is leaning up against, like, just back from the firelight a bit, sort of leaning up against a convenient wall, watching everything is a not hugely tall. She looks sort of like a normal human. She's got long, pale silver hair, ash blonde highlights. She's dressed in like pale furs and leathers with a chain shirt overlay, got a grey cloak on, probably hood up at this point. What you'd notice if you look carefully at her is that everything about her has a slight blue tint. So it's almost like there's in the pale silver hair, there's like just this touch and tinge of like really pale blue. Her skin is again very pale, but it's almost ice-like. And when her eyes dart across you, you'd see these bright electric blue eyes that are just scanning constantly the environment around her.
You'll probably also notice that she seems to have hair moving with the wind, even though the wind's not moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeremy, you know that this is one of the people Redrian has asked you to get up to speed, but Redrian failed to give you any information about the character. Just what they look like.
So the rest of the group with Dimitri is right back at Lowell, and so he received a message from Redrian that there's a few new members of the Investigation Bureau waiting for you at Lowell.
Yep.
And they would be coming. They say, did it say how many, or were they taking one at a time?
So I was going to go through them one at a time. You've already met Genric as he was with you last session.
Yep.
He nearly died. Yeah, only single-digit hit points left. He was fine.
Well,
All you need is one.
you didn't go into death saves, so you were doing quite well.
Yeah.
You were never in danger. Dimitri was there.
The sad part is that the saving throws I was making were the ones I was proficient in, had +9 on.
Okay, so how does Jeremy? How does Dimitri greet his new member?
I believe that you're looking to meet someone. Meet me and Mr. Redrian.
And
I've been sent to help out.
And from Hildren's perspective, you're described a pompous human who seems to know what he's talking about, but talks overly much about it.
That sounds right.
It's one of the things that I don't go into it as much as Dimitri does when I'm talking, but yes, technically, if Dimitri used a pretty short little word, they can't be short ones. So,
Excellent.
You just quite have to carefully explain exactly what he just explained to you if you need it further explained. And again, anyway.
So Hild would probably look you up and down, smile slightly, and go, yes, hello, I've been sent to help out a bit.
Well, it's always valuable and worthwhile to have additional investigators who ensure the safety of the world. So it is great to have you here, and yes, I'm sure that I'll be able to help you fit in perfectly.
You must be, Dimitri. I am Hild.
I'm glad to see that my reputation precedes me.
I'm sure you are.
Next up, you have Valen, a obviously fighter. So, how does Valen appear to those who see him?
So Balin is a typical elf. If you ever saw him, he is a soldier first and foremost, decked out in pretty typical elven armor, which is it's crafted with an eye for beauty over function, and he stands amidst the the cityscape, just casually surveilling whatever's on fire or what's happening. He's at ease, but he's just generally disinterested.
So is he at the average height of an elf? Most of the elves sit between 6 and 7 feet, towering 1 to 2 feet above humans.
He's about 6 foot-ish.
So he's short for an elf.
Yeah.
You need to make the ball if you want to at this stage, like you said.
Don't worry, you have one of the shortest elves you've ever seen, and that will be Trellin. So Trellin had been given the heads up that Valen was coming. And did Valen belong to any particular clan? Did he belong to a forest clan or a...
Indeed he did. So he's part of the Gun Elf clan within Elfheim itself. So he's got stake. So he's got skin in the game basically with the current invasion.
And so you can identify him by his clan symbology. One of the clans you had considered joining when you became an elf.
What's that, sorry?
One of the so it's one of the clans that Trellin had considered joining when he became an elf.
Okay, Martin's character. The even shorter elf you're talking to at the moment. But hey, it's still for a halfling.
Or isn't that short, but whatever. So I belong to the Fatal clan.
Lovely.
And amongst the elves of the forest, that is one of the last clans to join them in Elfheim, but connected to the second great elven civilization that has just sprang back up again. How do you, what do you guys chat to by the fireside? What do you chat about?
I think Malin is going to just sort of look Valiant up and down just to sort of gauge his worth before probably engaging about kinfolk and clan matters.
Well, you've heard that he has a bunch of scribes who follow him every now and then and write down absolutely every word he says, much to his annoyance.
Yeah, I'll do the time.
Okay, so then I will introduce. Do we have Elliot back?
Yes, I'm back.
Would you like to introduce yourself and your character and how he appears to the rest of the people?
Okay, yep. So yeah, my character is, I guess, on the shorter side for an elf. I was about 6'4". So there's a quite lean, move with the sort of typical grace of an elf. They're got a soft, sort of a perpetual sort of soft expression to their face. Always sort of like got a little bit of a smile, the corner of the mouth, even when they're sort of got a serious expression. Their eyes, though, are quite sort of sharp. They're sort of never quite sure whether they're sort of green or yellow, sort of brown. They kind of seem to shift a bit depending on the light. Brownish hair, medium length. It's sort of unkempt, but deliberately so. You can imagine it takes a good half an hour to look that messy in the morning. Yeah, it sort of stands apart a little bit with sort of, I guess, a calm self-confidence, but not in a way that sort of stands out. They kind of meld into the background whenever they're not the sort of centre of attention. Yeah, they're sort of, I guess, yeah, standing there, got a rapier on the hip. Yeah, sort of, just sort of watching and keeping an eye out of everything, taking everything in.
Okay, you find yourself standing next to another elf who seems to be occasionally setting things on fire. So, what do you end up having a conversation with Genric about?
So did you say setting on fire?
Yes, he has a slight pyromaniac streak to him, but hasn't quite yet set a village on fire. So there's always a chance it will happen one of these days.
He's just waiting for the attention of the zippo so he can get there going all day.
Alright, I'd probably sort of watch without saying anything for a small bit of point of time, and sort of lean over and looks like fun.
How long does it take Genric? How long does it take Genric to actually notice? Because there's this big bonfire in the middle of the room here, and he loves his fire.
Genric is very much a moth to a flame. And
eventually he does notice. So what does he do when he finally notices someone trying to get his attention?
Freaks out a bit.
Watch this! And firebolt into the fire.
Okay, so with the firebolt into the fire, there's a sound of swords being drawn all around you. At which point, I think Dimitri may have to intervene because, wow, magic use in an area amongst people who are used to most of the mages being evil.
Yeah. And
Go, Jeremy.
So how obvious was it that it came from him?
Most of those.
I'd be doing it as discreetly as possible.
Unless you've got a special ability that makes it discreet, it's always obvious who it comes from.
Okay. So to make your it's clear that it's okay just ensuring that the bodies were being appropriately cremated to ensure reduce the spread of the plague. So you can okay, it's got a special stick. It's fine. But if they're concerned with Dimitri, I guess so. I implied that he had some sort of item that would be empowering the magic type stuff. But Dimitri will basically aim to demonstrate the item that he had by apparently taking it off him and then showing a wand. And as I said, it's been blessed by Petra.
Okay,
Noticing this and noticing the need to calm things down, Hild, as Dimitri walked away from her, just tapped him on the shoulder and muttered something under her breath. And if you need to make a roll, Dimitri, you now have guidance and add a d4.
well, there will be the sound of that going off as well. Most magic
Just
is
a
not
mutter.
subtle.
It's just semantic.
When you're looking at your spell attributes, look at it as visual. Anyone can see magic coming from that location. S is more for sound, so everyone can hear that being used. And M is definitely requires a material component. So that's a slight difference with the game. So you'll actually see that all magic is generally noticeable.
Well, guidance is visual and semantic, so it's touch on the shoulder and some muttered words as a prayer to my God.
And everyone hears the answer. But it's not, as a clerical magic, it's less problematic than a firebolt in the middle of the room. But it does have people on edge.
Yeah. Okay, Dimitri will step forward as a known member of the Magician's Guild of Kalanikos. He's directly effectively make it look like it was Gendrick, wasn't it? Gendrick actually had a wand that actually was thing that cast the firebolt, and explained the fact that yes, it was necessary. There was an area that wasn't actually burning properly. He was trying to correct. So, and I say, if it's useful, 26 of sleight of hand to make Dimitri form look like it's come from Gendrick.
There is a lot of muttering, but because you are also a lord of the nation, it's just muttering at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps it's time to settle down for the night, or at least go inside. We'll have a chat inside. Yeah.
So they have set aside a room for you guys to rest up, though you do realise there is one of Redrian's inns here, so you can get decent accommodation.
We're assuming probably half these guys can come through from Redrian's inn, have they not?
Anyone who came from Alfheim would have come through recently, but they may have come via the actual capital of the nation.
Yeah. So Dimitri will certainly be happy to take them towards the Nightwood here. Simply on the idea that that's less likely to be typical Canadian clientele. So, and remind some of them of some of the customs and traditions in this area.
Some of the people are very jumpy. humans of Luan are very jumpy about magic because their main opponent is an evil wizard. So for them, most magic is danger.
And yes. Palamikos generally is anti-arcane magic. Divine magic is generally a lot less problematic, but yeah, this western side of Palamikos, as I said, they're concerned about the magical barony and the power, the likely power behind the throne or behind the parent chair in that settlement is yes. An unfortunate pastor who deserves a bad reputation.
Okay, entering the Knights
You
River.
don't have heard of Bard the Infamous. So,
You enter the Knights River Inn. It is a lot quieter here, not many locals. You do see another of Redrian's agents known as Drazzle, who is sitting at one of the long benches writing in his journal. He just glances up and glances back down. He doesn't really interact with many of Redrian's teams very often. Normally when things have gone wrong.
well, I certainly believe he doesn't play much station very well, so.
How grand is the tavern? Is it just Razzle in there, or?
Currently there's just Drazzle because most of the locals are a bit wary of this tavern as it has a reputation for magic.
Is there a bartender?
There is a gnomish bartender who says he can mix up just about anything you can think of.
I think Balin approaches the bartender and asks for some wine.
He'll follow and ask for some stout, and then when she gets a stout, she'll go put it back to a wall and just watch the door.
Okay, the stout seems quite nice. It is a brew that you remember from Vestland.
Nice.
Surprised that it's actually stocked all the way down here. The wine that you sample is not as good as what you can find in most elven forests, but it's better than a majority of human beverages. But then again, most humans don't have an elven palate and can't see the nuance in a lot of the wines.
I'll break up and join for wine as well.
I'm assuming that Dolphin appears to be quite a young elf. Have you described yourself as having come from Dolphin?
Maybe
Yeah.
in his hundreds, because an elf doesn't get their own name until they're around 100 years of age when they choose their name.
Yeah. No, it will go to the so to make sure all the chatting or asking the idea that I guess you decided not to follow the rules. You decided to stay and fight. Good to see.
Oh, indeed.
Though it may also be that your family didn't have enough standing to be taken in the evacuation. Your choice on that one.
I think Vaughn's just going to sort of keep a cool reserve and not give too much away at this point, and just sidestep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The medical group should be basically not the number of hits. Most of them do some of them quite overt about the fact that she obviously knows far more about the Hellfire politics than you do right now.
Yeah.
Having the elves quit the field didn't go down well with most of the humans. Okay, so yes, a fresh meal is laid out, which is surprising considering most of the town doesn't have access to fresh food.
It was the other reason to make you was happy to come back with. You want to expect the life of it.
And
That'll tempt Hilda away from the wall, but she'll sit in a seat. But again, she can still see most of the room and the door and stuff. But food's tempting.
well, they will happily bring you food. The waiter does let you know that at the moment, Redrian does have wards up against the doorway, stopping those who don't work from him from entering.
Good to know.
Partly because if they do, they may be able to sneak past most people's defences. As you have learned since joining Redrian, that he has a teleportation network built into his inns.
Excellent.
Yes, so the fact that yes, most of you who come from elsewhere probably came up from the basement of this building.
And no matter which of the inns you go to, your room is always available to you with whatever you leave behind. So if you leave an item in Lund, you can access it in another Night Rivet inn elsewhere.
Ooh, nice.
That's good.
But yeah, so when people were sitting down and enjoying the meal and drink, the big crew will aim to help bring the newbies up to speed into the politics of the real world and the situation that we're dealing with and things, and basically trying to find out first of all exactly what you know. How did you end up being recruited by Redrian? Exploits of the past, all those sorts of things.
You do have a suspicion that that they've joined up with Redrian because most of their leadership has left them behind.
Yeah. Well, it makes you walk back partly thinking that Redrian's accepted because he's, where did you find these guys these days?
Well, don't trust Dimitri.
So, but yes, the idea there is that seemingly in the discussion, whilst Dimitri is being a pompous bastard, it is a case of finding out what you know and, as I say, bringing up to speed on some of the issues that have been going on in the world and things. And yes, those of you who have spent your life in Alpine and growing up there and let you know what the real world is and what your nobility have left it in. So there'll be an explanation of the current war on with the Master, and the idea that its main goal at the present time is to try and screw up defences and gather as many new allies so that Derek will be able to hold off the Master, so that we can then subsequently deal with the big issues later on. And yes, some of the wars going on between Alphasia and Diatus.
And how the war was started by the goddess of peace.
That's an interesting one.
As I say, Dimitri, probably not get too much into the Immortal side of the conflict at the present time, because he doesn't want to scare them.
Well, you do know that there are a few of the main immortals that are problematic to your cause. Those being the sun god known as Ixion, the main elven god known as Ilsundal, the goddess of love known as Vanya, not Vanya. Got to remember all the names of the gods because there are 180 of them.
But I get to what the other reason why the issue does not really bring in the immortal aspect at this stage, because, hey, different people simply don't have good faith in their god for whatever reason. If they're going to the wrong side, well, hey, that could be a problem.
So the four main ones that are opposing what you're trying to do are Ixion, Valerius, which is the goddess of love, Ilsundal, which is the god of elves, and Alphatia, which is the god of the nation of the empire of Alphatia. Whereas Alphatia is known as the also the goddess of peace. So if any of your characters were following those gods, you would know that they have become the most warmongering gods in existence, leaving the Norse gods for dead.
Depending upon exactly how faithful it's actually been.
Being a bit isolating ourselves at the moment. We've got our hands full.
And the elven god Ilsundal, while many elves follow him, he's just the leader of the elven pantheon. He's also the one that tries to direct elves to stop science and experimentation. He believes that anything to do beyond metallurgy to be evil and prone to the world's destruction. Which is the main conflict between elves and dwarves, because dwarves are pushing the boundaries of science.
But not as far as gnomes, obviously.
Well, considering the dwarves and gnomes are related, the elves don't make the distinction.
No.
Science, what good has it ever done?
Knowledge is all available. So, but yeah, so did Redrian give you any direction or advice or information as to when he invited you to report his investigations?
To be honest, as far as I'm concerned, not much. I'm basically here owed someone a fairly large favour, and I was told that I would get more information once I was here.
And that you had a chance to save the elves. That's the main reason each of you was recruited, to keep the elves alive.
I was brought down because I heard you guys needed some help and a little bit of support and a little bit of muscle. And I'm always up for a fight.
I'm sure we'll be able to accommodate that arrangement.
I just don't understand why these locals don't use every resource that's at their hands. It's in Vestland, you use every skill you've got to show your ability.
Well, to be fair, Vestland is a somewhat harsher land. It becomes harder to avoid using the humanity outfits. Everyone taking some.
Also, doesn't
help.
Also,
always knew these lowlanders were soft.
Well, Vestland also is the home of the trolls, so some of the original trolls of the world still live there.
And that's one of the things that I'm used to hunting. Or avoiding, whichever way you want to go.
Well, normally being hunted by the first trolls and taking out their children.
It's also one of the issues for the local around here is being unfortunately oppressed by the Action people for far too long, i.e. about 30 years or so.
You're up to about 110 years now with the current rulership only been there for 40 years.
Yes. So, but here's one of the things that the current ruler, soon be King Stefan, having just declared Catholic independence from the Baptists, so really better than most he had. He's almost got Thaiation.
And one of the few Thaiasians family lines to have red hair.
But yes, he is a folks that are less used to the arcane world. But they can fight for their gods. Someone going to say anything?
I believe you've got the floor still.
So, as I said, as I'm sure you've heard from the town folk outside, yes, Colin and I have been. Sorry, no, actually, no. Reflex that. Yes. I and my companions have been sent here to. We actually just come from Specularum, having arranged the treaty to allow King Stefan to declare.
I'll just be back in a moment.
Independence. And but we can just come up here to, let's say, concern about this half plague and the Ashen King in the area. We've managed to disperse him and his forces for the time being, and don't necessarily have a direct mission right now, so we can enjoy the evening.
Wonderful. I'll have a nice
I'm sure there'll be more work to do in the morning.
Is there always?
Unfortunately, it's a big world that needs to be saved. And there's only one of me.
Well, as I said, he sent me here to help, and I will be of help.
I'm interested in this obvious fear of magic. Do the humans here not practice anything?
There's limited practitioners in the area. So, one of the preeminent members of the Canadian Magician's Guild myself. But you must understand that these folks have distrusted magic for a long, long time. And be aware, you are in. Whilst they call it Karamikos, it's actually Feldara, and all the monsters that your parents might have told you to encourage you not to go out at night, well, you do expect to see them running around Feldara.
They live. Valen at this point is just going to say diplomatically, they're only human.
I understand. They're uneducated.
Oh,
But yes, it is something you have to actually understand and be aware of as investigators for Atruaghin. You are likely to go all over the known world, and whilst I'm here to guide you in your travels, it is worth being aware of the local customs before you go about catching fire at the front of the other.
Fire being one of the most problematic magics in the region.
No, noted.
Genric
Do some frost next time.
So from our perspective at the moment, Martin, having confirmed that the Ancient King did not go up to the markers, hopefully we're confident that it has escaped somewhere into the actual city. But as I say, seemingly we have dispersed the effect of the plague at the present time, is that right?
You believe you have dispersed whatever foothold he had. You're sure he's about to show up again somewhere. But until then, you just have to keep an eye out.
Yeah. So then, yes. Based on the events that have been going on in the world at the moment, and last conversation with Atruaghin as part of recently when we basically got back from the moon and recovered Dr. Treaty to Stefan. Are there particular things that Atruaghin has not yet sent a team to investigate yet in all?
Okay, that will be fairly easy to look up.
Everybody, so Demetrius had the opportunity to catch up on his domain here in Canberra, and the planes dissipated, so yes. As I just told the others lying in light, that's why you probably relax for the evening and we'll back out in the morning or concern over the evening what we're going to go for.
So currently most of the things happening that have been discussed is that there is an elf versus elf conflict going in Alfheim. It's believed that the mythical shadow elves are surfacing all over the nation as the nobility are disappearing. There's some sort of metalwork happening in the Atruaghin Clans that no one seems to be able to find what's going on, and that's quite shocking for those who have learnt about their customs, because the Atruaghin stay away from metal.
See.
The Broken Lands region to the north of Darrakan have started gathering in numbers. Normally they would fight amongst themselves, but that has stopped. Either the Masters become a threat, or they're joining the Master. People aren't sure which, and either of them are just bad news. The news of the Yethangarians getting ready to marshal north and attack the Haldanes another cause of concern because the Haldenic Knights have declared war on Alphatia, much as Theodos has, and if they are too distracted, the Alphatians may just come in through their lands. The Five Shires are currently discussing whether or not to invade the Black Eagle Barony in numbers because they want to recover a pirate treasure stolen by that nation. The nation of Irendi is looking for volunteers to dig out relics from their past that were hidden away for safekeeping. And that's basically the most things you've been hearing about at the moment. There's a lot of talk about messing with time and how it's not recommended. The dwarves have closed off their nation to everyone else, and you do see that there's not many dwarves out and about in the world right now. Any dwarf who didn't return home was considered an outcast, and basically their name were being stricken from the clan rolls. No, Bradshaw was a child, so he still managed to fall under that one.
Yes. I also then kind of when all the groups gathered and were talking about exactly who was going out there to try and recruit the various nations' armies. This group was planning a academy and
hoping to convince the Five Shires not to invade Karamikos, tying up both armies from supporting Darrakan.
Yeah. Or at least getting the invasion over the bubbles, so therefore making Barry's only issue and they can work that out.
Well, if they technically invade, then Stefan's obligated to help the Black Eagle Barony because it's one of his vassals.
Yes.
Which would then mean a war between the two nations. So you've been asked to try to stop that from happening.
Yeah. So, and he's got a hustle with us. We go on.
Well, he was a halfling before he grew up.
Well, yes, so I'm thinking then that assuming the others are either not aware enough or don't have enough opinion on the fact that if Dimitri would have told them about the issue in the Five Shires, and the fact that, yes, that part of the recruiting of the armies and support, Canberra, it's a fairly small nation, certainly has some armies available, and if we can ensure the halflings continue their support and their progress into Sind, and it should be simpler to ensure that Darrakan has the appropriate forces available to hold back the Master in the coming war season.
And amongst you...
well, as I said, I'm here to help. I will follow your judgment, but for now.
And so Dimitri would know that Hilderon would be your best chance of getting the halflings on side because they pretty much worship strong female warriors of all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
You might have noticed when she sat down, her cloak moved and there's 2 scimitars sitting on her hips.
Well, that's good. And yes, it is certainly something that to make you may not make it obvious, and certainly is very observant and does notice things. Is there an activity in the 5 Shires?
There is, but unfortunately it is currently offline as not long after you guys used it, he had to shut down the network temporarily because the Master was in control of a city with one.
Not a city in the 5 Shires?
No, the city in Atruaghin.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, exactly.
So he had pretty much had to bring the network down, which is why you've been doing a lot of travelling over land.
Yeah, all via airship.
So a trip through the River Fork woods towards the 5 Shires, is that what we're thinking?
So it's pretty much to be about just trying to get a boat from the Black Eagle Barony is certainly not invitable. So, and hey, the Black Fog's a lovely place to visit, but we were there yesterday, so we don't need to look at that again.
So Valen, taking a sip of his second glass of wine now, just says to Dimitri, so you're proposing a diplomatic mission, is that my understanding?
That is what we're to say. I'm assuming that you'll do that, or at least you can support the diplomatic. But the fact that the Black Eagle Barony has recently been somewhat overrun potentially by the Ashen King's plague, certainly gives us potentially a better chance and better argument of the fact that the 5 Shires for my amount of person time, of course, so and I take the advantage of the idea of being a weakened state for person time is you can't get in there. But if their main purpose is to try and recover a pirate treasure, or do they think the Black Eagle Barony stole the pirate treasure?
They believe the Black Eagle Barony stole it many generations ago.
So, again, hopefully we potentially argue at least that they don't need to try and recover that immediately. It's taken a long time, and you should be concerned about your family and brethren who are currently behind the enemy lines in Sydney, and it would be most appropriate to be defending forces instead to the front line to ensure that they've got the most chance and distraction in the location. So,
indeed. So, what forces lie between here and our destination then?
As I say, the Dimitri will sort of actually. He certainly got maps of the area, but if one can probably talk to the barkeep and say, hey, if you're not updating the area map, but basically so pull out the sort of thing you can see on the screen there at the moment. And
each hex is 8 miles.
Yeah. There's actually at least a trail that goes between Rome and Little Fort Keep and then down to Alaford. Is that what those dotted lines refer to?
That is correct.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't want to just go straight through?
And once you get into Rollstone Keep, you can technically take the coast all the way down to Shireton.
Yeah.
which is where you can speak to the head hobbits or halflings, depending on which version of the game you look at.
So Balin, being the soldier, is more interested in the bridges over these many sort of rivers, and is looking to see if there's any sort of easy crossing or potentially intact bridges that haven't been burned by any conflict or held by any foes.
At this part of the nation, they're not bridges, they're fords. So if you're going to go, you'd probably be looking at the rivers starting to rise due to temperatures increasing, and it may be unpassable in about a month.
So we wouldn't be able to cut straight through the River Fork Woods. There's that pathway, the dotted pathway, the only way to get through safely? Or?
It's one of the few safe paths because River Fork keeps the road safe. But they don't.
Yeah, there's nothing actually stopping officially taking the direct path, but it is likely to be faster and smoother to take the light trails in a bit further, a longer ride. You guys have horses here. Excellent life supply.
I didn't really bring one with me.
Technically, you could have brought one with you. So, does your character have a preference for horses or other sort of mounts?
Horse would be fine.
And you do have a fairly strong-looking horse.
Excellent.
We'll also have the basic provisions for a horse with saddlebags, saddle, basic horse tending gear.
Sweet.
Unless any of your characters can specifically do not use mount, there's no reason why you wouldn't have them available.
Yeah, okay.
What about our 3 elves? Would they have some sort of mount that they would have brought with them?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And would you have just taken a elven horse, or would you have gone for something you didn't care about if it died on the way out of the forest?
I think he wouldn't care about very much.
Yeah, I think Balin probably would have picked up something along the way that he just, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. I can run 55 feet, so yeah.
Yes, you do have a monk in the party who is faster than most mounts.
Don't probably actually hold them out. I'm sure he does not know that, does he?
He does not.
So, would I have one from Vestland, or a sort of stocky mountain horse from Vestland, or?
Yep, I'm happy for you to have a stocky horse. Not quite the same as the Mongolian light horses, but yours is designed for mountainous terrain.
Cool.
Whereas
I should mention here that I do have a flying carpet.
Cool.
But
So it's one that I'll have from home and stuff. I will work on my horse.
okay, and our other ones will just have simple horses that they have picked up along the way, nothing fancy, and it does ignore them occasionally.
And it is working on the idea of this time is not especially the essence at the moment. It does matter if it takes us a couple of weeks to travel compared to a couple of days.
Well, you still have most of a month before you're due back at the Duke's coronation.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many days would it take us to get to Shire?
To actually cross into the border, you can roughly do 3 hexes a day.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 days to get round to whatever the keep is there that's names come off, but
Harbour Leave, no, Rollstone Keep, sorry.
Rock, okay, yeah.
The little dot there is called Harborley Rock. So.
And what does Dimitri know about Riverfort Keep?
Riverfort Keep is probably one of the more stranger group of soldiers because they don't really protect the border. Their main job is to keep the orcs and other creatures to the north of Aramikos away from things. So this entire range of forested hills is pretty much home to no people.
Yeah, so it's technically part of Aramikos, but it's uncivilized. So the main point is the Riverfort Keep soldiers' main role is to ensure that those uncivilized folk don't come any further south, obviously. And the keep that's just inside the 5 Shires, again, I'm guessing that's probably not so much a halfling controlled keep as much as a Phaeton keep, is it?
No, it's actually a halfling controlled keep. It is the main bastion against the Black Eagle Barony, and features the probably the best known pirate stop in the region.
Yeah.
Because the halfling pirates have the worst reputation of pirates on the seas.
So if nothing goes wrong, we're looking at a little over a week travel, and we've got to get to Shireton.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a bit over a month before we need to be back where?
Back at Aramikos, which is the capital city of where we are now.
So you're currently here, if you can see where the mouse is on the screen.
Yep.
And you need to get back down to here eventually, because that's where the coronation is for the Duke to be king.
So we need to make sure we have at least 2 weeks before we need to leave whatever we're doing in the 5 Shires, at least 2 weeks before the coronation.
That is correct.
To ensure that we're back properly.
Because you have 2 members in the party who are part of the nobility of the nation and are required to be there.
I'm just making sure we've got a timeline for how quickly, what we can sign up for and how long we can spend in the 5 Shires.
Yeah, good point.
The timing will work, don't worry about it.
Part of that is Dimitri doesn't mind if he misses it.
Well, and also, to be correct on the other, well, realistically, only one of us has to actually be there. And I can get there quickly if I need to.
And Trellin is technically a lord of the nation as well.
All right, yeah. That's quite Dimitri.
Yes, I know Dimitri doesn't think anyone else matters, but hey. Okay, so...
Yeah, Alan can get there fast if you want to too. So the evening will be that we'll spend the evening basically discussing the next few days' travel. Because the other thing from Dimitri's perspective is the reason he's not interested in actually trying to speed up these initial days to get up to the Riverfort Keep and then down to the... Don't keep going out of my head, the other one. It gives him a time to actually, while we're travelling through these somewhat less civilised areas of Aramikos, we may come across some elements that means that we get a bit of a better assessment of exactly what these new people that we've been scavenging with are like.
Cool. And the terrain we're going to go through is just sort of forests and plains and stuff, yeah?
Mainly hills and forested hills before you hit Riverfort Woods for a day.
Damn it. Not my favourite terrain, otherwise I could help out a bit there, but oh well.
Very sad. I'm sure that Trump will still shine.
Okay, so as you're all getting your self ready, you do see that your companion Dragonborn has a rather strange looking cart attached to a draft horse. And
In what way is it strange?
it has a lot of dragon symbology on the cart itself, and it has this big door on the back that doesn't seem to open into the actual cart itself because the front of the cart is open.
Like it's got an open top two-wheeled cart, like the sort of the gig that goes on the back of the thing. Yes, it's got this large door that seemingly has nothing on either side. Certainly, if anyone does look at it closely, the EQ recommends don't pay too much attention, don't look, don't touch. Also, keep clear of the horse.
Would they
Denisha wouldn't say keep clear of the horse, he'd be saying keep clear of horse.
So
In fact, I like to say that.
I'll get Gabe to speak up. You're up.
Sorry?
I'll get you to speak up because we didn't hear you over Jeremy.
Sorry. If Valen was just like giving it a side glance, would he be able to recognise or make out any of the symbols on the actual cart itself?
Okay, give me a... I'll make it an Arcana check.
So that would be... So that's a +2, is that a D20?
It would be a D20.
I got a nat 1.
Okay,
Yay.
so tell me what you think those symbols mean.
To Valen's eyes, untrained eyes, evidently, they probably look like a script of some sort.
Well, I'm sure he's actually correct that they are a script of some sort. But what does
You're
he?
probably confident you can translate it perfectly.
So what does he mistakenly believe it says?
Probably a script of arcane language, maybe a ward, potentially.
And I'm sure he is comfortable enough to believe he knows exactly what it does. So what does he tell everyone it does?
So Valen, I guess, trying to impress upon people not to touch the wagon, basically just says, "Yeah, I wouldn't touch it if I were you."
Okay, so you all saddle up and find that it's not that hard to head out of town, as they've cleared the barricades, as no one seems to be assaulting at this day. But they do warn you to beware of the Iron Ring slavers, because they are not picky at who they enslave. But if you happen to thin their numbers, they will greatly appreciate it.
So yes, so when you get out there, you'll find yes. Dimitri apparently doesn't have a horse, because not in the stables and things like that when you're going to go through. However, you look back a bit or so later and find that actually no, there's apparently a horse standing there, or mostly standing there. So he pulled up basically create a phantom steed for his purposes.
And he has to go slow because he's faster than the rest of the party otherwise.
He can take it easy.
So fire bad, but phantom horses okay?
Okay.
Well, shadow magic doesn't seem to scare the people as much as flashy magic does.
Well, it's all that sort of thing, like, at first glance, he seems to be there and he's feel good. Call it on him, hey, he's not really hanging around long enough, who knows that place. But it's also something you'll probably find quickly is the idea. We need to find that definitely would go the adage of do as I do, not as I do as I say, not as I do.
Okay, so you travel north.
I'm more on the edges as we move of the group and just constantly scanning the environment. But oddly enough, I look a bit more relaxed here than I did inside.
Okay, are you traveling in front, behind, beside?
I'd probably be scouting a bit to the side, like into a bit to the front and to the side, just to try and keep an eye on what's going on.
Okay, the most disturbing thing you come across is that the wolf prints in the region are bigger than you're used to.
Then I'm used to? Okay.
Yes. As much as the Northern Reaches has wolves, the wolves don't get that big.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do they seem like reasonably new tracks or?
The tracks range from probably hours old to weeks old, almost as if this entire region is crisscrossed by the wolves on a regular basis. So you might be walking right into an ambush by giant wolves.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely keeping an eye out. Wolves, are they a beast? Would they be classified as beasts?
I will give you a nature check to see how much you remember about other nations' laws.
Okay.
If they were normal wolves, they'd be counted as animals, even if they're giant guys. But then we did mention the idea of, hey, they're not their monsters, so people go up and they're for a tournament.
Okay, so I got a 22 on nature.
Okay, it's a lot hard to know about stuff in other kingdoms, but you've kept an eye out, and you do remember the law saying that Karamikos has far more direwolves in it than most other nations, and on top of that, a big percentage of the population are natural werewolves. And
Okay, cool.
direwolf is one of their forms.
So is a direwolf count as a bestial creature, or it's beasts are one of my favourite enemies.
When a were person is in wolf form, it does count towards beast, but they may be shapeshifters or they may just be the larger relatives.
Cool. Okay, so if I am keeping an eye out for them, because they are a favoured creature, I have advantage to track them and an advantage on intelligence checks for any information on them.
Okay. Well, you do.
So,
Of course, got a advantage on the intelligence check to
so yeah, if I feel like tracking these guys, I'm totally up for it.
Well, you believe that this entire region you're passing through is part of their homeland.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep an eye out, but keep following the group on the road.
Okay.
If the I think whatever the title was, Lady of Val, when Dimitri was talking to her the previous night or the night ago, about the area of explosives, was there much discussion of the contact with on the River Creek, being maintained as normal at this stage, estimated stopping contributions with the North Trail.
She does have occasional messages passing through, but they rarely range more than half a day from the keep. So she doesn't expect you to run into them until you reach the first river ford.
Yeah, okay, but so they don't normally have too much communication with River Ford Keep itself.
They do not. They try to send a monthly messenger along with stuff from the city.
Yeah.
But they don't have a lot of dealing with them otherwise. Radley they speak to on a at least once every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So it just comes out here. No news is good news, in the sense that there hasn't been any strong indication of concerns with the fail beyond the normal.
Okay, as you're traveling, Hildebrand does notice that there's at least 50 distinct tracks of wolves that you'll pass through.
Cool. Okay.
And you think that's all part of the same pack.
Sweet. Thank you.
So Valen's probably a little bit concerned of ambush at this point. So is he able to do like a perception check to see, to sort of zero in to see if there's any disturbed vegetation or the smell of blood in the air, something to indicate that these things might be close by?
Okay, give me a make it a survival roll instead of perception. It will give you the same information but some extra.
Sure. So what roll was that, sorry?
Survival.
Survival? Okay, so I got a 12 and survival, what's that? I've got a +4 on that.
Okay, so unlike much of the elven forests that you're used to, all the vegetation here looks to be dying.
Okay.
As they haven't started rejuvenating with the start of spring. That was almost 2 months ago.
Is there any obvious kind of reason for that?
They believe that someone awoken some primal titans that has screwed up the seasons for the world. You should ask Dimitri about that one.
You're certainly quite an alternate. But also, as you mentioned, it was unlike the trees in Elfheim, but it's not like the trees in Elfheim have been doing all that well for the last couple of years either.
Elven magic has sustained it through most of the stuff that's happening, but it is draining their magic.
So Valen's going to ask Dimitri, so what's going on with the seasons here?
Well, I'm sure you've noticed that the sun and the provided inverted commas has been not necessarily coming up in the east every morning for the last 6 months or so. The fact that yes, the big bright burning ball in the sky have not necessarily been following the traditional track for the last, probably about 6 months, I think, or 4 months, or.
It's about 6 months, and there's also been no rainfall anywhere in the world in that time.
And like I said, there is a small, relatively dull, cool-looking object that has continued to follow the east-west halfway through the sky, but yes.
It looks more like the Northern Star than it does the sun.
But yeah, well, as I say, we've got time. Dimitri will go into an extensive explanation and glory about the fact that yes, there's part of the issues that the world has been facing in recent years, as I mentioned, the Master and his armies coming across from the west into Darrakan, having completely overrun the Kingdom of Sind. Has been is an aspirant to become an immortal himself, and as part of his powers, and since he's talking to an elf, despite the fact that yes, as part of his quest to destroy all the life trees of the elves, he was drawing on the powers of the ancient primals. So, by releasing the primals, the Master's powers were significantly diminished and going through. Unfortunately, not surprisingly, releasing the ancient primals has resulted in other issues within the road, but hey, as I've explained to a few people before, at this stage, we'll deal with today's apocalypse and work with the results tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yes, it is certainly an ongoing concern.
So Hildrun does also notice occasional direwolves watching the party's progress.
Well, she will definitely keep an eye on those. Make sure they're not moving in for, threat. As long as it's just watching, we're good.
They're not acting anyway like normal wolves.
Cool. Just keeping an eye. Maybe she might turn to the others and say, just might be worth being on alert.
Is this normal?
This is not normal wolf behavior. But unless they attack, I would probably advise keeping on.
That's where you remember another fact that you remember about this region. Sometimes the wolves aren't actually wolves and they're vampires.
Oh, fun. It's not like a book.
So that
As long as they're not threatening us, it's worth just acknowledging, seeing, and continuing.
Dimitri makes a somewhat obvious notation, and I pulled out a book and makes a notation and describing the fact that that's plenty of time. And oh, well, yes, okay. I'm actually learning some eventually.
I'm just very much constantly surveying the surrounds, keeping an eye on them, making sure there doesn't seem to be any threat in their actions, and just aware.
You do notice one thing that's odd. They always seem to be looking at Dimitri.
Interesting. That draws my attention to Dimitri a bit. And Dimitri, you might look up at one point and notice that what's normally a very open, constantly moving gaze has just focused in on you, like zeroed in on you. And normally Hild looks a bit, not scattered, but like she's always watching the peripheral even if she's talking to you, and at this moment everything is just focused on you for a moment. And she cocks her head a little bit and then goes, and then goes back to scanning around.
And an odd thing you notice is the Clydesdale pulling Dressel's cart doesn't move like a horse.
Oh,
What does it move like?
Well, imagine a horse if its knees bent the wrong way and its head seems to rotate instead of do other things. It just looks freaky.
And yes, so that certainly doesn't do quite what you expect it to do.
Okay.
no, she's just taking in all these details and noting them and keeping them in the back of her mind.
You know it's definitely not a beast. Whatever it is, it's not a beast.
Again, seems
Not a horse.
not a threat at the moment. But it's an interesting fact to file away.
An extra fact that you also note down is that since the seasons have been messed up, the sunlight has not been enough to affect undead vulnerable to sunlight. So those of you who hunt undead as a hobby know that the last 6 months has been the worst hunting season.
All the best hunting season, depending on how you look at it. So what's so far that we're doing is really wandering along?
I guess I'd be sort of keeping generally to the centre of the group. Again, looking reasonably casual, but obviously trying to take some cues from those that look like they know what they're doing.
You do have a little bit of trouble keeping your horse together as it seems to want to run away from the cart trailing you.
I guess I would, I'd sort of just speak to it to try to calm its nerves and that sort of thing. Hopefully try to convince it that it'll be fine.
With your knowledge of animals, it is treating the cart behind you as a predator.
Right, I'll probably just let it give a bit more space than so it's a bit more comfortable.
You find yourself riding up near the front.
Yeah, that's fine.
So how about Genric? How's he going with the troubles?
He's definitely keeping an eye out for any spectral beings approaching the cart, as that did not go well last time.
Actually, considering I'm seeing the dire wolves and they're not acting like normal wolves, I might expend a spell slot and use my primeval awareness ability. Sorry to interrupt you, Genric. Just, it gives me, I sense any aberrations, celestials, dragons, demons, fae, fiend, and undead within 1 mile.
Okay, so does it tell you anything about those things you sense?
No, just whether I can, if they're there.
Okay, so there is a big ding there.
Cool. Just confirming some suspicions.
I might be thinking of a different ability, but I'm pretty sure it tells you what they are, but not who they are.
Yeah, I think it tells me if it's one of those things, just not. Yeah, so I can determine if it's an undead, fiend, fae, or. So I'm assuming undead.
You're getting a big ding on dragon.
Oh no.
Okay.
And you also get a ding on Fiend.
No one dead yet?
And one on Fae.
Cool.
Which is probably the more disturbing one to have walking through these hills, because the Fae have basically been upset by what's happening in Alfheim and have pretty much gone mad everywhere.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll, if you're paying attention, somebody might notice I'll grip on my a leather cord around my neck is a wolf tooth, and I'll hold the wolf tooth for a second and quietly mutter a prayer to Zerjek. Was it Zerjek?
Zerchev.
Yeah, Zerjek.
And as you do that, you feel the gaze of the wolves all turn to you.
How far away are these wolves, by the way?
They range between about 100 feet to half a mile away.
Okay.
Big enough to notice, though.
Mm.
And you do remember Zerchev is also known as the Wolf Lord, so having connections to the Fae and forest races. He doesn't mind you hunting wolves. He's just also known as a friend of nature.
Yep, that's my god.
Something else that you say when you're doing sensing of dragons, beings, undead, etc. But obviously, when you've got the big deal of dragons, depending upon how aware you are of the effect of the spell and how it works and things like that, you may be considering the fact that you're travelling with a dragonborn right now. So
Yeah.
and they've only been in the world for 12 years, so they're safe.
Yeah, I was mostly trying to take a guess at whether these direwolves are direwolves or vampires.
Yeah.
But I picked up some useful information.
Could be a lot worse.
And also, as we're travelling along, so you'll note that, yep, Dimitri will be calling a halt every hour when he appears, and he takes a minute or so and comes up with another one. So,
How long does it? So is it only a couple of minutes between stopping and
yeah,
starting? Or?
it literally, it's literally taking just over a minute or maybe 2 minutes, something like that, to come on the horse each time.
Alright. So how far through the day are we?
It looks so practiced of him doing that, you think he does this as a regular basis to avoid looking after a mount.
Yeah, I figured.
You're about halfway through the day. You don't think the wolves are actually interested in attacking you. They seem to be waiting for something.
Cool. Have we got like a packed lunch, or do we want to take a break, or keep going and only camp at night, or what do we want to do?
I don't think it's safe to camp nearby. I'd suggest we press on as quickly as possible.
Most of your horses will not make it through the night if you press on.
Okay, so we're certainly, the intent would be to be camping at night, with the idea that we should have only one night camping until we reach the Riverport Gate. But yeah, the intent would have been to actually camp in the forest. A lovely skeleton and walk in the Black Forest, always nice. But yeah, so.
Well, as it starts to get into late afternoon, sort of evening dusk-ish, I'll start keeping an eye out for somewhere that looks good as a camping spot with some defences and...
Okay, you can see the safety of the woods nearby, but there seems to be a fortified hill in the middle of a bunch of smaller hills that is open to the sky. It looks like a caravan stop. So you have to toss up, do you want to direct everyone to where you feel safest in the woods or to the hilltop?
I mean, as you said, I always feel safest in the woods, and I'm far from home. But I'd probably pull back into the party and give the two options and listen to what others would prefer and where they would feel safer.
And as you're discussing with them, the sounds of the forest start to pick up. There seems to be a large number of beasts in this forest region.
In light of what we've seen, I would recommend for defense we camp atop the hill tonight and keep a lookout.
Alright, then while we're heading towards the hill, I might scout out a bit further, and while I'm scouting out a bit further, I might try and pick up some forage and hunting to have some fresh food tonight.
Okay.
Balin's going to lead the group towards the hill on his horse.
Okay, you do manage to get yourself some supply of food, enough to feed. How much can your character normally forage as she travels?
I think forage-wise, like I tend to be able, I can get double in my favoured terrain, but I think it's just basically, enough to feed the party.
Okay.
I think it tends to be like to feed 7 people, if I remember correctly. I don't know. 100%.
Okay, so you gather enough fresh forage. You do question the term fresh.
I'd probably try and keep an eye out for some, bunnies or some game to bring back.
It seems
some of these elves look like they need some meat.
Looking, you don't actually find any fresh game. You just come across old leaves and berries that look like they were left over from last summer.
Okay.
Yes. But how many bunnies were expected to fight after these wolves?
Depends.
As Valen reaches the hilltop, he does have his hair start to rise up at the sense of magic in the hills.
Is there anything that would tell me what type of magic?
You're thinking it's abjuration, but give me an Arcana check.
Rolled another nat 1.
Okay, you believe it's abjuration magic completely as you make a prayer that it is abjuration magic.
Does anything else happen other than the hairs on the back of my neck?
Well, it means that you've crossed what's considered a ley line, and there's a lot of concentrated magic on this hill.
Okay.
Most of the ley lines you remember are settlements, and there's no settlement here.
Okay. I think he's probably just going to keep that to himself for now, unless other people can sense it too.
So, standard foraging rules, I can get 6 pounds of forage based on a survival rule.
Well, give me, I won't say you have to make a roll, or just say you find enough to feed 6 people.
Sweet.
Well, most mundane things should be simple for you at this level.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You reach the hill, and you do feel the deep connection to nature here. It reminds you of some of the druid groves of the northern reaches.
So, can I look around and see if there's any markings or anything that I would recognise?
You do look. Give me a perception roll.
Perception 21.
Okay, you see what you think are the remains of a ancient circle. You're not sure what race built it or what people it was created by, but it does have a deep connection to the earth.
Cool. If anybody's paying attention, you probably notice I'd, again, smile and relax a little bit more.
Would I be able to have a look at this thing?
I was about to say, I'd be fairly curious as well.
Okay, so as you two move in, give me a nature roll.
Yay! I get to roll something.
Was that nature?
Nature.
4.
Total of 4?
Yep.
Yep, it's a hill.
I got 6 things.
You're in nature. You're in the outdoors.
This wall
It's
is
grass.
How was the other roll?
6.
You confirm there is grass on this hill.
Grass is flammable.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry.
While they're looking at the grass, I'm going to start setting up the campfire, putting the forage down, starting to set up a cook fire and get things going.
Valen's already started.
Oh, cool. I will assist you, Valen.
So as the two of you
I
start
will
getting...
use my cantrip create bonfire.
As the group of you start setting things up, you realise that this has been used as a stopping point for caravans for probably hundreds, maybe thousands of years. You see occasional runes that just don't make sense on stones that have been worn through time.
Can we read any of the runes? Do we recognise any of the languages?
It's not a language any of you have seen.
Okay.
But there are a couple of standing stones around that are like that. Though I will give our ranger from the Northern Reaches a... make it an Arcana with disadvantage on this one.
Arcana with disadvantage?
There's a chance you may have seen some of it in passing.
Oh, natural 20 and a 2.
Okay.
And Arcana is not one of my things. 2.
Okay, so looking at it, you have this flash of recognition. Not a clue where that recognition came from, but there's a flash of recognition.
Natural 20 and a 2. I might actually because I got that flash of recognition, I might take a note of them, of the symbols, maybe do a rubbing of the symbols and put it away in my pack and think on that later.
While you're doing that, you notice that Drazzle is doing something similar, except he's drawing them in his book. Though he seems to be drawing you doing a rubbing of the symbols on the rocks.
Okay.
If you realise that he's not going to copy the symbol, he's effectively copying you. Part of the reason he was happy to take this slightly longer route to take his time doing it was what the capabilities and interests of these new people were, so you understand what to expect. But yes, having come to this obvious ancient site. You can probably feel the ley lines and the protective magic in the area. He'll certainly be taking an apparently unobtrusive look around at the stones and examining them. So,
Okay, I will give him also a Arcana roll with disadvantage.
mm, 13 and a 14, so that'll be 13 plus 3 for equity, 16, 27.
Okay, looking at them, you do recognize it as the rarely written down giant runic system.
I read giant.
Not many people read it, it's more spoken than read. Giants don't
True.
write it down.
It's one of my languages.
But it's like the halfling language. The halfling language exists, but no halfling speak it anymore.
Ah, okay, cool.
So the giant language is more spoken than written. It's like Goblin is spoken and not written.
Cool. Do I notice Dimitri looking at the symbols and seeing a thing of recognition pop in his eyes?
If he says what the symbol is, then you will recognize it instantly because you know that name. You know the sounds of the symbols, you just don't know what they look like.
So, Dimitri, do you say anything when you make that recognition, or?
No, he's just kind of, I mean, he would make it look like he was, not even getting surprised recognition. It was, just reading along. Yeah.
I might side over to him and go, do you recognize these symbols?
Yeah, it's the giant magic. Protecting roots upon the place. So, Dimitri will be more than happy to go into extensive teaching mode.
Can you
He's
read?
always happy to pass on his knowledge.
I would love to hear what they say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dimitri will go through and talk to you and hopefully get you some of the rooms.
And you do make out from what Dimitri is saying that this used to be one of the giants' waypoints, as in the giants used hilltops like these as ways of teleporting around the world.
So there's a teleportation function to it?
There would have been that the giants can activate.
Many years ago.
And the rumors are that the dragons destroyed nearly all of them, which is why very few people ever see any form of giant written down. Creating a much of a problem between giants and dragons.
Cool. Interesting. Yes. And I might take note of the knowing the language. Start putting together the words I know with the written runes that I see and start playing around with that.
Yeah. So, Dimitri is always more than happy to speak with a willing and interested student.
Yeah, well, while you're going into your education mode, you'll notice Hild's coming along and paying attention and interested. But as it goes on, it becomes more of a more of a sort of a fixed smile rather than anything else. And her eyes start wandering again.
Reaction to Dimitri, yeah.
Let's just do this. Dimitri is perfectly familiar with that sort of reaction, understanding the fact that yes, unfortunately, despite his best efforts, he didn't remain in the world.
And if she notices Valen cooking. Is Valen still cooking, or?
Malin's just unpacking and is strategically just piling bags and things like that in the most defensible way possible. And as night falls, he's just keeping an eye and trying to listen for anything that may signal a threat or anything approaching.
As night falls, he does notice that some of the stones start to form lines of light across them in various shapes, until he realizes that they're forming these strange runes that the others have been looking at.
Where are these glowing runes located?
They're starting from below the ground and rising up from it.
Huh.
I might make my excuses to Dimitri and go and try and start putting together some sort of stew with this forage that I've made to feed the group.
You have quite the interesting flavoured food. Luckily, you probably have some sort of spices to toss in there to mask it.
Yep. And probably some stout to, I'm a Viking, come on. There's got to be some beer in there.
There is.
Yeah, it works well. Yeah, I guess I'd probably be helping, sort of set up the perimeter and that sort of thing. It's probably a good time to mention that, character's got, it's got Devil Sight, which is 120-foot vision in all darkness as normal.
Okay. So Devil Sight is interesting to have. And as you're getting yourself ready, you do see that the astral plane is rather thin on this hilltop.
Sorry, what was that? Is rather clear?
Rather thin. There's not much difference between the real world and the astral world here.
Yeah, curious.
With enough mental effort, you could potentially step through into the astral sea.
Or possibly not enough mental effort.
Well, it normally requires intent to do so.
Yeah, I'd probably just make a comment to the others just to sort of say the barriers are sort of quite thin up here, so that may or may not be an issue. Depends what happens. If we get attacked, if something comes through.
Yes. The make building coming to a long-winded explanation is they have to wire the barriers.
And as you're looking on, you do get a feeling of a strong-willed presence watching you. But at this stage, it's only Dauphin getting that presence.
I can't actually see anything, it's just a feeling.
As you look, give me a perception roll.
Can Valen do that as well, just naturally?
He could, but he was busy at this stage.
Okay.
15.
Okay, you do get a pair of eyes of a creature of maybe huge, maybe gargantuan in size, looking at you through the other side of this planar border.
Okay. Do I notice anything? Just the eyes.
Just the eyes, and they do look humanoid in shape and showing extreme intelligence.
Dimitri, since you know a lot about locations such as these, what would you say to what creatures might exist that are on the other side, intelligent, potentially watching us? Nothing to worry about, I'm sure.
Obviously, location here. It's a nice and secure and protected area that the giants have left for us in this location. As I say, the constant opportunity and leftover remnants of the teleportation means that they provided, but using access into the astral plane and the ethereal and the other locations. There are certainly any number of creatures or entities that would be interested in this location. I mean, for the same reason that you towards this location is a protected site. It's similar feelings on the other side.
Hild probably picked up the conversation in passive perception of 21. And so uses that as a moment to go, so with that, we should probably get set up some watches tonight, yeah?
Sounds good.
Certainly, I wouldn't be camping anywhere without having a walk.
Excellent. Just making sure we're all on the same page.
I'm an elf, and I've got the alert feed, which lets me have consciousness when I'm asleep, nominally.
I'd be used to, because I'm a scout, basically where I live. So I'd be used to doing night watches and stuff. So I'm happy to do first, second, third watch, whatever.
No worries.
And you certainly sort of thing, particularly if this was happening effectively after dinner, like it's a very citizens that starting to settle down and the nature of that kind of thing. So certainly wouldn't suggest camping anybody with a watch. And then basically apparently curls up and settles himself down for a nice nap for the night.
Yeah, it's happy to help out.
Okay. So who's on first
In
watch?
fact, he's listening carefully to find out what the arrangements end up being, and they do actually set something.
As I said, I'm happy for first, second, or third watch, whichever way.
I'm happy to first because I don't know if I could go to sleep with that thing watching me straight away.
Well, I can have some broken sleep, so why don't you wake me up for second watch?
Alright, sounds good.
Okay, so what do you do while you're on watch?
First of all, is it just me or is everyone else?
You do see that Drezel is sitting up.
I'll be on watch.
And Trellin is apparently also looking like he's awake, but hey, you do know elves can go into a trance while actually resting. So what is Dofan doing?
Probably just nervously pacing around, trying to keep a lookout all sides, whilst also trying to hide that he's not nervously pacing around.
As you're walking around, you do see that the runes seem to have created a circle around the outside of the hill top.
I'd probably, I'd sort of like to inspect the circle and that sort of thing a bit more. I'd intuitively stay inside.
Okay, as you're very close to the edge of the circle looking down, give me a dexterity saving throw.
Well,
Okay, so you basically get covered in a bunch of ash as a giant bat hits some sort of wall inches from your face and turns to dust.
I'll definitely take a few steps back.
You've got the taste of dead flesh in your mouth.
Yep. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely would be looking around to wash that out whilst taking a very poignant look at all around, especially the sky.
Looking up, you do see lots of reflective eyes looking down at you from silent shapes.
Yeah, I'd probably make my way back to, whoever else is awake, to the point up and go, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, but it is probably an alarm of warding.
Well, that's a good thing.
That Dimitri can cast.
It's man of many talents.
But you didn't actually see him cast a spell. So he must really have some sort of talent to create a circle of runes about maybe 400 or 500 feet in diameter.
More powerful than it looks.
And as you get an occasional sound of flapping of wings, but the flaps are not steady.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely be situating myself closer to the middle and being quite on edge to start with.
Okay, so the rest of your shift passes otherwise uneventfully, except that you probably run through so many scenarios in your head that you're happy to pass it on to someone else.
Yep, definitely.
Maybe about half an hour earlier than you intended.
Yep. Yeah, I probably, when I wake Hildren up, I probably pass on that information and explain what happened.
Interesting. You can sleep now. It's fine. I've got it.
Yep, okay, that's good. I'll try.
Was anyone else going to join me, or?
I will.
I'm happy to continue on, because I've got the alert thing. So.
Hey, if Jenrick wants to join.
Yeah.
Genric and Trellin seem to be both able to just stare ahead and rest up, whether or not they're active or not.
Well, noting that they seem to be awake, but still, I'm in a sort of circle around the group, keeping an eye out outwards, watching for eyes or threats or any changes in the environment. But I'm also watching the party, this new group of people, and just taking in what I notice. And
so you do recognize the circle being that of a protection circle.
Would I have encountered one of those up in Vestland, or would this be new to me?
A lot of the druid groves actually had circles of protection against undead.
Cool.
Because
so I definitely stay inside the circle.
That's the hardest thing for druids to do, is to stop undead.
Cool. So yeah, I definitely stay inside the circle, and I'd it's not that I'm nervous, I'm just alert.
And you struggle to see the stars because the sky seems to be full of bats.
Interesting.
But I think normal size bats for her, or like really large bats?
They are bats of unusual size. I'm sure they don't really exist.
I might do another one of my primeval awarenesses and flare that and see what's changed.
You definitely get the presence of undead in the area.
So you're getting it back.
You still get the presence of a dragon.
Yep.
And
Do I still have the fiend or the fae?
You do not have the fae, but the fiend is also present.
So I've still got the fiend and the dragon, and then a whole heap of undead.
Yep. Above and below.
Above and below. Excellent.
I'm not 100% sure how it works in this world, but apparently I also give off a Fey ding.
Well, apparently the fae is also there then.
But a smaller fae than the other ones.
Still a fae.
Still a fae. Yep. Cool. So yeah, I'm just noting where everything is and not worried about anything, but just alert and practiced in my alertness. As I said, as a scout, I will be very familiar with camping on the road and watches and camp setup and stuff.
And while you're wandering around, you suddenly get this inspiration from where you had seen the runes previously.
Yeah?
Whenever you got close to one of the first trolls, there was always runes involved. And they were probably the scariest times of your life. Because the first trolls don't have any known weaknesses.
Cool. So yeah, I might, every now and again stop and look at the runes and, cock my head a bit and think and remember. But yeah.
As you dream of it, you have slight daydream while looking around. You do remember a time where you came face to face with a troll almost as big as a hilltop. It was literally covered in these runes.
Cool. She might shiver a bit in the night air and just keep thinking about it and looking around and maybe a little more alert the threat than she was before.
And the stones that represented the center of the circle was actually its mouth. And people would rest in its mouth and then not be seen again.
It's like it's got a creepy face.
Yeah. Yeah, the alertness, the worry and the alertness are starting to rise a little bit, but she's keeping a feel for it, and what you might see if you're watching her is she grasps, one hand goes to the hilt of one of her scimitars and the other one goes up to the wolf tooth around her neck and seeking a little bit of comfort.
Okay, as you seek a bit of comfort, you do hear a strange tale in the back of your mind that this was a bastion of the hill giants. And it was a place where some of the giants were laid to rest. Also considered a place of their power and worship.
I smile and thank him
and that the matriarch of the hill giants is protecting your rest.
I'd relax a little bit and maybe stop fondling my scimitar and continue on.
Though the unsaid question that you also feel is, and what's the price I now have to pay?
Yep, there's always a price. But for the safety of those with me, I'm always willing to pay.
And maybe your current quest is actually achieving their goal, so they are protecting you while you rest.
Excellent.
You keep telling yourself that.
Now mutter a prayer of thanks. continue on my watch.
In giant?
No, the prayer of thanks is actually, yeah, in giant.
And as you mutter that prayer, you realise you've just done 2 shifts together. As you've not noticed, about 6 hours passing.
I still get a long rest, right?
Still
Yes.
get a long rest. You
Yeah,
feel well rested. Just at this
Excellent.
big jump in time from when you started reaching out and hoping for the best and talking to someone. Time seems to pass when Immortals are involved.
Cool. There's much changed between my shift and time. Everybody still looks good.
Everyone else is resting, and the shift that was supposed to take over from you is still sound asleep.
Okay. How far are we from dawn?
You're actually watching the light of dawn creep in, even though it's more of a dull sort of light than a illuminating sort of light.
I might let them continue to rest and start thinking about putting together some breakfast. Sort of pushing the fire up and go and tend my horse a little bit and, start doing the morning preparations.
Next to the fire, you find a barrel of water and a barrel of apples.
Excellent.
They weren't there. They weren't there when you started watch.
But I'm fairly sure. I'm not particularly, considering the interaction I've just had, I'm not particularly worried about it. So, I might keep a couple of some apples for the horses and use some apples to make up some sort of porridge sort of thing, and hoping that the smell of breakfast will start to waken my companions.
Everyone else wakes up to the smell of fresh food. And not the normal trial rations you've been living off for the last 6 months.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
You have no idea where the barrel of fresh apples came from.
Pilgrim, do you go foraging?
Looking at the apples, they do not grow in this region.
Something like that.
She didn't find an apple barrel tree.
I am skilled, but maybe not that skilled.
Hey, some people just have all the...
Right.
You do see as the light starts to creep in, the bats seem to head back into the forest.
Cool. If I glance around, do I see any direwolves or anything replacing them, or?
You do think that all the direwolves in the region had come from that forest.
Cool.
Valen just starts to silently pack up after eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably assist to do the same.
Doesn't take you long to get your gear together.
So, noting that basically that under control will be basically going through his morning routine, rehearsing spells, asking his mage armor, etc.
Getting his protective wards up before the day kills him.
Yeah.
How long does Dimitri's routine last?
Oh, okay. Probably an hour or so.
Okay, so after I've finished cooking breakfast and eaten some myself, I'll probably pack up my gear and pull out my scimitars and start doing some practicing some movements and stuff.
As Balin is helping to pack up and get everything set and ready to go from the hilltop, I'm assuming it's a fairly advantageous sort of lookout.
It is a fairly good looking.
Is there a clear path?
You can see the wagon path weaving between the hills towards River Pork Cube.
Any sign of like threats or ambush or bad weather rolling in?
You can see the sign of carrion birds along the path.
Okay.
So,
Roughly how
so
far
yes,
away?
you see them about a mile away, which means that from your perspective, there's a threat in that direction. Something has died recently enough to draw the carrion birds, or is about to die.
Okay.
Right, how far away are the birds?
About a mile away.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's enough of them that they do make a presence known.
It's like something had a worse night than us.
Is it in the direction we have to travel? Sorry.
That is in the direction you have to travel. It is along the caravan route.
It looks like it might be a fun day.
And there's no, I'm assuming it's all forested, there's no other way to bypass this, whatever it is, in our pathway a mile ahead.
Any other way you go requires you to go off the known route and make your own path, which will increase your travel time by 2 to 3 times, if it's even possible to cross that way. These rivers are wide enough that you would need a boat to cross if you didn't have the fords.
Yeah. So what do we think, people?
Just carry on.
We should at least scout out what the threat is. We should at least figure out what the threat is and then decide whether we should leave the path to avoid it or, deal with it as we go.
Yes, agree.
If you wish, I will ride ahead of it and check it out and report back.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll come with.
So apparently you're riding ahead with the party.
So it's a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
As we start to get closer, I'm going to cast Pass Without a Trace on the party to give us a bit more, if we do want to try and sneak away without dealing with it, that way we can do so with a little bit of extra support. So Pass Without a Trace lasts for an hour, and if we have to make any stealth checks, we do so with a +10.
And how many creatures does it cover?
It covers whoever's within 30 feet of me.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't be tracked except by magic.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think when we get close-ish, I'm going to see if there's any birds or such around and cast Speak with Animals just to see if I could either see if they knew what was up ahead or could convince them to take a look and come back.
Okay, so you managed to
find a carrion bird that was up ahead.
And you manage to speak to one of the carrion birds nearby. It is looking at you and it is constantly saying the same word over and over again. Food.
Food.
Looking at you, and as you talk to it, it looks at you and says, food? Food. Food.
What can I get? What type of food?
You believe it's looking at you as food.
Oh, right.
Yummy food.
No, I'm not dead yet.
It seems to look a little scrawny, as if it hasn't been eating well.
I was no, food up ahead.
It sort of looks in that direction and then looks back at you and says, food.
Is it a carrion bird?
It is a carrion bird.
I'll pull out some jerky from my pouch and throw it at it.
Okay, as you throw it at it, you see another 10 come out from nearby, also chasing after the jerky. A lot of them look a little lame from malnutrition.
Two pieces is enough. I'm, happy to help, but not too much.
And they seem to be fighting over these small scraps of food.
It's the way of nature.
You didn't give them all the apples they can eat?
They're carrion birds. And I wanted to save the apples for the horses. Maybe I'll throw one apple and see if there's any interest in it.
Way to go, pass them without a trace.
Okay, so you toss an apple, they ignore the apple completely.
Cool. I go.
I can't be that hungry then.
Nudge my horse over and pick it up. And
They sort of weakly limp towards you. You can
I
hear
wasn't
their
able
big
to get
stomping.
meat in the previous night. I know that we've got a couple more days, but we're about to get a keep. I might throw out another 1 or 2 pieces of jerky.
Okay, they chase after the easy food.
I'll try to talk to them again and sort of see if I can communicate I want to, I guess, find out what is up ahead. Like,
Give me a
what is
persuasion roll with disadvantage because of their limited intelligence.
which roll, sorry?
Persuasion roll. You're dealing with creatures who are on the edge of starvation, unable to get nutrition from anything but the meat they normally enjoy.
That's well done.
Okay.
Well,
So, you do manage to get some of their attention, but all you get from them up ahead is bad food.
yeah, probably just communicate that vague message back to the group.
But hey, you did get a different response from them. It wasn't just food, it was bad food.
Yeah, true. That is slightly more information than before.
Well, if Dopin tells me that, I'll burn another primeval awareness just to see what's changed.
Okay, so you...
I was going to say, bad food. That's a bit like monthly harvest.
Well, I guess bad food for a carrion bird is going to be pretty bad.
I'm thinking undead or something like that.
You get
Or maybe still alive.
a lot of...
Maybe.
A very strong ping on Fiendish.
Fiendish energy from ahead.
Yep. As well as dragon energy from nearby, as well as Fae. And you are getting a bit tired of the other pings.
Yeah, I know them. I know where they come from now. I'm more interested in the changes. So, fiend energy. And I'll relay that to the group.
So you do note that Drazzle's card is both pinging dragon and fiendish.
Cool. Yeah, I'll say to the group, there seems to be some fiendish energy ahead. Do we want to scout closer, see what it is, or shall we decide or make a decision now?
Well,
Certainly,
if it's included in the hour, then I'm happy to go and approach it.
I would have only really just before this bird interaction cast pass without a trace, so
Yeah, I think we should
I reckon let's go.
carefully.
It could be investigated because if nothing else, the Ashen King and his play certainly appear to have some fair intelligence.
So,
It could
as
be
we
that this
move,
conservative turns out before Keith has actually makes a couple of play.
stay close to me and try to be as stealthy as possible.
I've got boots of elven kind.
And you're an elf, so of course you're stealthy. All elves are stealthy.
Kinda.
And you make
I
it
do have the stealth skill, but yeah.
between where you are and the first riverbank, you find many picked clean skeletons.
Do these look like plague? Is this reminiscent of what you dealt with the Ashen King, or?
Most of the plague bearers that they found were, when they succumbed to the plague, they pretty much burst into flame. None of these skeletons look as if they have flame markings around them.
Okay.
And they're all humanoid.
They are all humanoid.
And I didn't pick up undead.
You did not pick up undead.
Valen, perched from the saddle as he's passing by, is just looking at the bones for any signs of like cuts or anything that would indicate the edge of a weapon.
All of them show signs of having been chipped by beaks. Many chips.
Is there any equipment? Is there any equipment left behind?
There is no equipment left behind. Many of the large bones are missing.
Am I getting a feeling of like potential ambush? Does it look like they were attacked by a creature?
They are not grouped. They seem to be spread out. It may have been a panicked retreat.
Okay.
But of course,
all the deaths appear to have occurred at the same sort of time, or are we talking over a period of time?
the skeletons don't look more than a month old.
Just turns to Dimitri and just says, I think the wolves have been active.
Are there signs of like? Are there signs? I know they're skeletons, but like, are there signs of claw marks or bite marks or anything that would indicate?
All the bones have markings on them as if they have been ravished by animals after death.
Okay.
Which makes it very hard to tell what killed them.
True.
Though you've not found a skull yet, so you're not exactly sure what race they are.
Okay. How far are we from the river?
You're probably about half a day, well, probably about maybe an hour from the river by this point.
So we must be approaching it. Obviously, we're going to stop and have a look around and they will examine the skeletons and look for equipment, roll into pieces. If people have seen enough at the present time, I'm guessing we should continue on. Yeah.
As you start
As
you start to press on, you begin to hear the sound of metal on metal.
Okay.
Occasional dull horn.
I think it's time to press on to the river.
Press on or carefully?
Well, we should still have some pass without trace time going. What I might do.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
I was just wondering if it's worth casting my Find Traps spell. It detects traps within 120 feet. Anything that would inflict sudden or unexpected effects. Which, the way I read it, and I'm not sure how Martin would judge it, would count as ambushes and stuff, because that's still sudden and unexpected.
That is that instantaneous type effect, like you within 120 feet, or you something you maintain?
No, it's not concentration, so
How long does it last?
it's just like a sonar of within 120 feet, is there anything that would cause sudden or unexpected?
Yeah. It's not something you can travel with, but yeah, you can check on as we're about to move off, just make sure there's nothing nearby that will ambush us.
Yep. We've got a limited number of those, but I might flare a Find Traps to
Okay.
see if there's anything within 120 feet that might pop out at us.
Okay, so you get an immediate loud ringing in your ears when you do this. And feel your head looking directly at Drazzle's cart.
Not helping me.
You've never felt that sort of answer to that spell before.
You're told not to touch it up.
I am not touching that. I am looking at the cart with a lot more suspicion, and I start moving just a little further away from it.
But nothing else in the area is ringing, though you do have the ringing in your ears for a little while now.
Okay.
Just like you've had your head rung by that spell.
Cool. Okay. I'll shake my head a bit and go, we should move on.
Okay, as you're moving on, Trellin does recognize the style of horns. It is definitely used by hobgoblins.
Okay. That's not too bad.
It is disturbing because they're not supposed to be here. They are the most regimented of the goblinoids, and they generally only take the field with horns when they are in force.
Is the sound coming ahead of us or from behind us?
From ahead of you.
Hmm. And do we still have the pass without a trace active?
You do.
How long's it been? Cool.
One thing you have learned that in the last 6 months, magic's durations work in a strange way. Some things you will cut out before you realize it, and other things will just not stop.
Yeah. Valen just reflexively rests his right hand on the pommel of one of his short swords, just in anticipation.
Okay.
Seeing that, Hrifna's hands go... not Hrifna, sorry, wrong character. Hild's hands go to a scimitars.
As you reach a hill overlooking the river, you can see on the far side of a river multiple standards, definitely not of Karamikos.
Oh no.
Martin and everyone, sorry. We were stopped at the skeletons and things like that, and getting off, as I said. Dimitri was taking the time to re-summon his horse. apparently it took a little longer than he would this morning to on the previous stocks. Not really paying attention to their food. Unless people specifically fight against it, you might suddenly realise that you can hear each other's thoughts. So, Venetia will also do a telepathic bond between the bloody members for the next hour to ensure that they can all gain Dimitri's information and understanding rapidly if something comes to the situation.
Now, the disturbing question there is, did you include Drazzle in this, or had you learnt better?
It's not worth trying to tell Drazzle anything.
So that was a no, you didn't include Drazzle?
No.
Okay, so you all instantly know that there is a at least 3 to 5 regiments of hobgoblins on the other side of the river. And that they are not from Karamikos at all. Their standards all range from the northern side of Alfheim, meaning that they are hundreds of miles away from their homeland.
So are we talking Broken Lands lands?
No, the borderlands, the other side of Alfheim to the north, between Alfheim and Rockholm, and Ethinger.
Yeah, that's only the Broken Land.
Broken Lands is the other side. Okay, so I will...
I can like the...
So, you got the Broken Lands on this side? These standards come from this region.
Okay, right, yeah. So they're not necessarily part of the... or look like being part of the new leader that's starting to consolidate the Broken Lands.
So, as they come from this region, your characters are about where the pointer is now.
Yeah.
So you're quite a bit away from where they're supposed to be.
And obviously there've been no reports of movements of hobgoblin armies down south or coming south, either through Alfheim or either side of Darrica.
There's no news because they would have crossed through human-controlled territory to get here. Even if they had a ransacked along the way, news would have gotten out.
Yeah, and that's the fact that yes, it's very unlikely that they had managed to get here unseen if they were travelling overland, because of the idea that we didn't get information, even if it wasn't public world. It seems unlikely that no Inventory's forces were aware of the movement of the Hobgoblin army southwards. So.
And you can see signs of magic in their battle.
Are they? Assuming they're not fighting each other, does it look like they're laying siege to the keep, or?
It is still at least at least 8 miles away from the keep, as it's in the middle of the fork.
Okay.
Can we actually see them and who they're fighting?
At this stage, you can just see the standards and the dust, and see magic ripple through the battlefield, and occasional demonic creatures swoop out of the dust.
Phil's going to see that.
How far away are we looking at the moment?
You're looking at them from about half a mile at this stage.
Okay, yeah.
Hild's going to see that and then just nod to the others and watch for their decision.
We're not equipped to ride full force into that, so my suggestion would be is to fade into the forest and try to barter for passage elsewhere across the fjord. if we can.
Or we can try and encourage them to join up.
With hobgoblins?
Against the master, they're on our side to his side.
Is that feasible?
It is possible. It just depends on how good you are at talking.
And so they're apparently fighting a currently unseen, but we're getting indications of fiendish or hellfire, did you say?
You're not exactly sure which side the fiends are on. But then again, fiends aren't really on anyone's side.
Yeah.
Valen just glances at Dimitri.
So it's potentially worth approaching a bit closer and just finding out exactly what goes on here. If we've got the opportunity to support one side or the other, then if they can then be brought upon to support Daraka, then it would be very advantageous.
Assuming that goes to plan, what do you think the keep is going to think when a battalion of hobgoblins rolls up to the front door?
Well, the question is, of course, how did they get here and where they come from? As to, obviously, they haven't travelled all the way from north of Elfhard and overland. We don't know exactly how far overland they might have travelled.
That's the question of why.
Possibly the chief's already been gone. So.
Are you brave enough to ride up to the battlefront and see what's going on?
Is my pass without trace still up?
It will be starting to wear out.
I mean, I can cast it again if we want to go closer.
I mean, the point is that we can still accept we can approach. If we're like half a mile away at the moment, you said, so that's, what, about 1,500 yards. So, what you say, we can probably go at least another few hundred, probably even get within 600 yards or something, and we could have a better look. I'd be like, I'd try and tell the guys to keep quite well at a distance.
And I believe that Dimitri has spyglass, or at least one of the other characters does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe at least one of the characters will be carrying a spyglass at least.
I think so. Yeah, actually the intent will be to actually go close enough that we can get at least a better understanding of what's going on. So.
Okay. On this side of the river, you see a makeshift camp that's a lot smaller than what's on the other side. And they seem to be ferrying wounded across the river to the campsite.
The hobgoblins are?
They appear to be, yes.
So we could get closer. I could cast Pass Without a Trace again. We could get closer and maybe if anybody speaks Goblin, we could hear something about what's going on.
Yeah.
I could hear all languages in common, but I can't speak it.
Yeah, it's not one of my languages, sorry.
They are not known in the Northern Reaches.
Yep. I am way out of my depth and I am happy to just be here to support.
Does
They're
Drellin have any thoughts?
so it's not a
Yeah.
it's not a done deal. So we could go up to them and just say, "What do you think?"
Yes, we certainly, effectively think, that, I guess, communication is not the concern. So, language is not the concern.
Okay.
the most charming one?
It ain't me.
Generic.
No, I've got charisma 8.
I would assume that the warlock would have a fair amount of charm.
It's non-zero.
Mine's 0.
Mine's 0.
I have a feeling that Dimitri's the most charming one here. And that is definitely saying something.
Dimitri's the obvious candidate to Enigma to talk to the Okay, the point being, if we got close enough to actually see them very wounded and things like that, have we actually seen what they're fighting yet?
You have not.
Well, if our monk can hear them and understand them, I can probably, as long as nobody completely stuffs up their stealth check, I can probably get us close enough that we can hear at least what's going on and then make a decision from there if we want.
That sounds like a good plan.
Would it help if you're invisible? I just realised I could do that.
Well,
We
if
can
we
only
have-
improve your stealth.
No tracks, no sight, no smell. That would definitely make it very hard for people to see you.
For one person.
Yes, that's... Whereas Pass Without a Trace, we can't be tracked unless by magic, and it's plus 10 for anyone within 30 feet of me. Unless we want to send the monk in by themselves invisible.
So, no, I think the issue I thought was the fact that we can be going, Pass Without Trace and invisible and other factors type stuff. But I'm also just curious at the moment that, so are we not able to see what they're fighting because it's invisible, or because we're just not getting into a spot where we can see the battle? Or
There's too much dust and obstruction of the battlefield for what they're fighting for you to see.
okay, so we're not really much seeing the hobgoblins per se. We're more seeing the banners. Is that right?
You're more
Sure.
seeing the banners. You do see hobgoblins carrying wounded across the...
The wounded hobgoblins coming back. Yeah. So, and they're crossing the river, as they say, because it's actually a low point. It's a ford of the river. They're not coming to it by boat or anything like that.
It is a ford, but it is a ford that is almost waist deep, and some places neck deep.
So,
So I can shoot 1,200 feet.
Mm-hmm. You could easily shoot the people fording the river if you wish to.
But that's not my plan. I'd like to go up to them and find out who the leader is and whether they're willing to fight for it.
Okay, so as you get closer, you start to pick up that they are checking for infected.
So
And
are
what
we
are the
sneaking
towns
closer,
they
or are we just
do?
going to approach?
Sorry, need one person at a time. We'll go with Martin first.
How are they dealing with the infected?
You don't quite hear that because they don't talk about that part. And what was our Ranger's question?
So did we decide to be like sneaky as we approach, or are we just going to ride in and offer aid, or
Well, you can hear the
ask
sound.
questions?
You can hear the sounds of horns and fighting, and it's starting to get hard to hear each other.
oh, looks like we've got the telepathic bomb.
So
Well, again, my understanding or expectation would be that, well, we're certainly going in quietly. We're not aiming to make it obvious. Certainly, if we're going to get spotted, or we want to be the ones to actually initiate the contact if we can, at whatever range we decide to initiate that contact.
Cool. Well, a second pass without traces up.
Okay. So yes, you make it to about 100 feet from the encampment. It looks to be big enough to hold maybe 30 to 50 patients.
Hearing the discussion about infected, so Dimitri took a minute to put up a tongue spell for himself, which obviously then, because it's telepathic bond, he obviously actually at least able to understand what he's hearing in Spain. Because in fact Goblin is one of the few languages Dimitri doesn't speak. But yes, particularly when we're hearing about the infected part of the house, Dimitri's definitely having another look to walk the battlefield and prepare, like I say, with all the dust, and possibly the dust is actually smoke. Is there similarities to our combat in the north of near Dimitri's domain with the Ashen King?
It is feeling almost identical.
Right.
You even have the smell of brimstone.
Yes. So, Dimitri will definitely passing on the fact of, yes, it appears that the Ashen King has affected, is in this area, and that the hobgoblins may well be fighting infected as the plague.
And you do hear the prayers to Karash in the background.
Is that the hobgoblin god?
It is one of the orc gods.
Okay.
Valen, as a soldier with experience, has he is there anything in particular about what they're seeing so close now that would strike him as anything less than a typical battlefield, or the typical sort of, I don't know, marshalling area of a battlefield or something?
So what you see on this side of the river appear to be a medical setup for officers.
Yep.
You wouldn't have expected to see both humans and hobgoblins in it.
Is there anyone that stands out with that would stand out to someone with experience as having authority, like a commander or a captain or something like that?
Well, looking through it, it looks as if many people of authority are lying wounded in the tents, and the person who seems to be in charge is a hobgoblin with a massive sword strapped across his back, calling out prayers to the god Karash. Many a time you have heard that name used by some of the more brilliant tacticians of the hobgoblins and orc armies. It's probably the least wanted foe you would ever want to face on the battlefield.
I think at this point, Valen just has a look of disgust on his face for the beings that he considers less than with his elven heritage, and has made a point to withdraw one of his swords, like just unsheath one of his swords, ready.
Dimitri's basically thinking to everyone. Very good, I'll go forward, see if we can talk to them and offer our aid, because, as I say, we want what we can get them support against Garrican. Definitely we want to eliminate the threat of the Ashen King and the plague. So
Yeah.
So and then
So who's going to go in with Dimitri?
Yes, I'll go.
as I say, well, Dimitri's certainly keen to at least keep some people in reserve on the idea of, hey, if things go wrong, he wants part of it to start to go down.
No,
Don't-
and then plus a bonus action, I can still pump it out.
Don't worry, Dresden will always be in reserve. He'll always write about what happens, win or lose.
I'll stay back with the reserves and keep the pass without trace up so we can stay hidden.
Yeah, and Valen's going to stay as well, but deliberately mounted.
And then yes, Dimitri will obviously there's some racial issues and concerns between hobgoblins and almost everybody. Is there anything normally particularly worse between for like elves and hobgoblins, or humans and hobgoblins, or
Well,
ants and
from
hobgoblins?
your belief, Koresh is not the enemy. He's one of the few gods that he's one of the few gods that Halav respects and doesn't particularly counter, as well as he's considered an ally of Atruaghin.
Yeah, no, that's right. Like, I'm certainly from Dimitri's perspective, irrespective of, hey, I mean, technically they're almost they're possibly up there with Knowles as far as his Chaldar heritage goes.
I know from your
but I'm
Chaldar
talking about
heritage.
from the hobgoblin's perspective, if they see an elf come out of the forest versus a human come out of the forest versus an elf and a human, is that likely to cause worse, or like is any of those effects going to be likely worse than others?
The hobgoblins don't have particular hatred of any races.
Yeah.
And from the Traldar perspective, the hobgoblins aren't always the enemy. It's just who they follow is normally considered the enemy.
Yeah, happy with that. In which case, then, yeah, more than happy for Crellin to back Dimitri up as part of this initial first contact situation.
And amongst elven mythology, they believe that hobgoblins are a corrupted version of elf.
That's right. All the other way around.
That wouldn't bother Crellin too much because he's just doing nothing anyway, so.
Okay, so as you find yourself on the edge of camp, you do feel you have triggered a ward walking into camp.
Right, so he's certainly walking in and announcing greeting. Can we be of assistance?
Okay, you have a couple of hobgoblins with hands on swords looking in your direction as the head cleric seems to gesture them out of the way and walks up towards you. He does seem to speak quite clearly, saying, identify who you are and why you're here.
We'd like to take a piece out of the Ashen King.
I don't know that. So what language are you saying that in?
He's saying it in Traldaran.
Like, so the hobgoblin speaking Traldaran?
He is. Without an accent.
Okay, yep, that's excellent. Yep, okay, so it's more what, the question was more what Crellin would answer again, because, again, Dimitri's got tongues up, so he probably doesn't actually, he's here for obviously Traldaran.
Trellin also understands completely because he's wearing the amulet of language given to him by the god of death.
He's got the amulet of language too, yes, that's right, yes.
So, he asks why you're here.
We were actually travelling through on our way further west, but I can almost smell the Ashen King's present forces against us there. And
he says, yes, the demonic force is trying
any part of the
to
Ashen
break
King's above
through.
us.
He says the Ashen King is trying to break through by the keep, but the Queen has commanded his people to force him back.
Yeah.
He looks at both of you and goes, one at a time, please.
Okay.
And he looks to Trellin to go first, because obviously you're the more important one.
I don't know about that, but yes, we're happy to provide assistance for the combat investigation.
Do you know much about medicine, he asks.
Sorry, what?
Do you know much about medicine? Are you a healer?
No. I've got 10 healed kits, but that won't go very far.
Are you any good at dealing with extraplanar rifts?
No.
And it turns over to Dimitri and says, maybe you can help then.
You will find our services of great help, but we will have to direct exactly where it can be applied. So you're saying that the Ashen King has come out of the astral sea through a rift in the area?
Some of his forces have, yes. He hasn't made an appearance yet, and his presence is still felt here.
And what forces are you up against at the present time?
He keeps summoning fiends from the abyss. And we're mainly
Is there a
fighting
way
those.
to close the rift?
If they had the capacity, they would have done it. But he seems to have some sort of device allowing him to open up portals.
Right.
Well, I'm sure we can how many fiends is he managing to consume at a time? How many rifts is he opening?
We can't count however many he's been opening. We can't see. We just keep getting ash come through, and amongst it, fiends pop out of the portals and assault our forces.
And amongst these fiends, or if you're looking around at the wounded gear type stuff, is there any evidence or so far of what was it?
The
Plague infection?
They don't look as if they have the plague infections that you've seen, but most of them have claw marks and bite marks that are definitely far more than the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
He is worried we might be overrun shortly, so if you're going to help, you will need to help soon. And with that, I will say it is 11:15, so I believe next week you'll be dealing with a fight with some demons and planar rifts.
Yeah. It'll be a good war for the new folk and how to fight the major war. That's where the master battle is on.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Well, some days are quiet, some days are horrific. So, if you want to add something before I go to end credits, now's the time. Otherwise, I will talk to you after the credits have gone through.
All good.
All good.
All good.